Good morning, good morning. Welcome everybody to the Saturday Morning Mastermind. I'm Samantha Studebaker-Carl, your host, broadcasting to you live from beautiful Southwest Georgia. And I'm here with my good friends Dan and Julia and Jason and Donna and Dan. Welcome, welcome, welcome everybody. I want to just say that I'm glad to have you guys on here, and I'm excited about today's discussion. Today we're going to talk about motivating yourself and how to motivate yourself every day using simple self-talk statements. And I think this is going to be a great topic. Everybody added some really awesome things to the pre-mastermind discussion this morning. And if you guys want to, if you're out there watching and you want to read the pre-mastermind discussion, you can get there by visiting our Google Plus community. And I just created a new link for that. It's actually community.mindsetmasterycollective.com. That takes you right over to our Google Plus community, and you can see the pre-mastermind discussion because it's the pinned post right there at the top of the community. Okay, so let's get going with this thing. While everybody's introducing themselves, I want those of you who are watching, go ahead and introduce yourself too. You can jump over to our live event page, which is SaturdayMorningMastermind.com. If you notice that it has a slight delay, I don't know what the deal is with that. GoDaddy's got something going on with them, but either way, you can get there. Just give it a second to refresh, and it'll send you to the right page. So, okay, welcome, welcome. So go ahead and jump out and introduce yourselves, guys.
Well, hey, how you doing, Samantha? This is Jason Roberts. Hey, everybody. Happy to be here this morning. I know we're crashing the servers over there at GoDaddy right now, and they're probably having a hard time handling all the traffic. But listen, this is going to be a great discussion this morning. Glad to be here, and looking forward to hearing everything from all the other panelists.
Well, hi everyone. This is Julia Cologne, and I am also very, very excited to be here. This chapter really helped me a lot to understand motivation. It was something I struggled with, and just the insights and the examples that he has, Dr. Helmstetter has. I'm looking forward to creating my own affirmations at this point. So this has been a great exercise. So it's nice to see all of you. Hope you guys had a great weekend or great week, and I'm also looking forward to hearing everyone's input on this chapter.
Hey, Dan here, and once again, glad to be here and join everybody. We have an awesome group here, and I read the chapter last night and threw out some of my comments, and I'm like Julia, I was blown away by this because I've heard of affirmations, I've seen them, I've even have a few that I've borrowed from some friends, but looking at what was said in there and then coming up with my own, I like the coming up with my own because then it personalizes it really to me and who I am. So I want to work on doing more and get more and hear some of your guys' ideas to incorporate how I can infuse them into my stuff that I want to do. So I'll let somebody else speak now.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Dan Smith. I live in Boise, Idaho, and got a beautiful, beautiful day shaping up here. Looking forward to the discussion this morning, so welcome, everybody. And a side note, I'm not stoned today. Last week, we had our carpets cleaned last week, and I didn't realize how many fumes that there was in the house. when I came to the hangout last week, it's like, all of a sudden I realized I am really not in touch with my brain this morning, so I apologize. I came to the hangout wasted last week, but I assure you I'm straight as an arrow today. So anyway, looking forward to the discussion today.
That's too funny, Dan. Good morning, everyone. Donna Allen from Raleigh, North Carolina. Rainy day, but a good day. Looking forward to the discussion.
Oh, wow, Dan. We know you weren't really high. Right? Oh, okay. So, well, welcome everybody else who's hanging out with us. Let me just jump over to the event page and welcome everybody. Welcome Christopher, Karen, Dan, BG, Donna. Awesome, awesome, guys. It's great to have you on here. And while we're going through this discussion, I really want to have you participate in it. So let's kind of talk a little bit about, let's kind of, while we get the discussion going, for those of you who are watching, tell us some of the things that, you find hard to motivate yourself to do. All right, somebody's messaging me. What is the hardest thing that you have to, or the thing that is the most difficult for you to motivate yourself to do? So while we're talking, you guys jump in and out of the conversation there. And let me jump back over here real quick where I can see everybody. Okay, so first, I know I forgot to mention this at the beginning, but for those of you who are watching, you haven't been here before, we are reading the book, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself by Shad Helmstetter. And we are on chapter 19, which is internal motivation. And, this is a really powerful chapter. Of course, the whole book has been powerful. Just some of the insights that we've all gained from this have just been amazing, absolutely amazing. But this particular one on motivation, I think this one really hits home with everybody in one way or another. In the pre-mastermind discussion, we started some conversation just on some basic stuff like exercising and just doing a video or writing a blog or just little things like that, or how we eat or anything. Is that we have these things that we know we should do, and yet getting ourselves to do them is a little bit frustrating at times. And so what do we do, right? This is what this chapter talks about. It tells you some really simple things that you can start talking to yourself about to help you motivate to go in the right direction. Because I think most of the time we tend to say the wrong things to ourselves. Okay, so for instance, my thing that I talked about in the pre-discussion was for exercising. I really want to start exercising more because I just feel better when I do. It's not so much about becoming a bodybuilder or losing a bunch of weight or whatever, although those would be nice side effects, right? But it's more about just feeling more healthy. But yet, when I think of exercise, the first thing that pops into my head is, I hate exercise, right? But when I say that, I realize that is negative self-talk. It's not positive. It's what is going to keep me from being motivated, or like Dan Sissick mentioned in his comments, one of the things that demotivates him, demotivates you. You don't want to demotivate yourself. You want to motivate yourself. So that's what this chapter is all about. It's all about finding the right statements to say to yourself so that you can actually gain that motivation. So, sheesh, I'm going to mute out and figure out who is trying to message me. And while I'm doing that, you guys go ahead and, share your thoughts on motivation. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'll jump out. Motivation is a fantastic thing, but I've watched a lot of Bob Proctor videos for the last year or so, and one of the things that Bob Proctor talks about a lot is something called paradigms. And paradigms are it's a group of habits that you have they're embedded in your subconscious mind. And so we have these things that we want to do, and we're motivated to do them, and we take all these actions to try to get ourselves to do them. But why don't we do them? And one of those reasons that we don't do that is don't do the things that we want to do, and we actually end up doing the things that we don't want to do. Is that we have these paradigms that are embedded in our subconscious mind, and the problem is you're fighting these internal habits that have been embedded there for a very, very long time. And what Shad Helmstetter is talking about in the beginning of this chapter is that the traditional way that like a sales manager would motivate his people is to have a big sales contest, and you're going to win this whatever big prize, a car or whatever, a trip, and that's only an external motivation. And yes, you might buzz yourself up and you might go work really hard for a short period of time in order to win the sales contest so that you can win the prize. But that's not internal motivation. That's only external motivation. And so really what this chapter is talking about is how do we approach internal motivation so that we can overcome these this group of paradigms or habits that have embedded themselves in us, in our subconscious mind, that hold us back from doing the things that we want to do. And that's where all of these different affirmations come in. And you can form an affirmation. It's the way that I look at it is that it's like I have a garden out here in my backyard, and we've planted tomatoes, some different squash, just a number of different things out there. And we purposely went to the store and we bought the plants, and we took them out there and we dug holes in the dirt and we planted them. And it's the same thing with your mind. Your mind works exactly the same way as it would if you were planting your garden. You can choose a thought. And, I kind of grew up with the thought that, well, you just, whatever things that you think is what you think. And whatever you see with your visible eyes, the eyes that are in your head, whatever they see, what you're looking at, is the way that it really is. But that's not true. And you can, of your own choice, choose thoughts, plant them just as you would plant a tomato plant, and then water that plant, nurture that plant, or water that thought, nurture that thought, and grow it. And that's where the internal motivation comes from, and that's what these affirmations do for us. It's a way of us implanting a thought into our mind, and then acting upon that thought till it becomes true in our life. So anyways, I've rambled long enough. I'll let somebody else address it.
I don't think anybody wants to speak after you there, Dan. That's really good. Yeah, replacing that old habitual thought patterns, with some new positive ones. I found just recently, last week I talked about being good at being a problem solver, and thus being really good at seeing all the problems around me to solve. And so lately I have been telling myself, reminding myself, I only see the good things about everything. I'll only see, what's right. I'm only looking for what's right, and and I don't even phrase it in that, well, I'm not looking for problems. I actually phrase it positively, saying, only that I'm looking for. I see only the things that are right in the world. I see what's best in the world. I see what's great in the world, and that has really kind of cleared away some clutter for me to focus more on what I'm trying to do. And the motivation, I was thinking, I didn't get a chance to actually write this week, but when I work and have to make proposals on websites and things like that, it's funny because that's the thing that I want to be doing, and the thing that will propel me further with more income. But sometimes it's like pulling teeth, I tell you, and it's just so hard to get going, getting motivated to do that. But once I get into it, it seems to start to flow. And boy, after I get done, I've got that feeling of accomplishment, and so it makes it worth it. I think sometimes if I can just remember to focus on how good it's going to feel once it's done, rather than thinking about all the problems that are going to be coming up while I'm doing it, then that's really seems to help. So that's my input for now. Thanks.
Well, I'll jump out and throw out a couple thoughts, because in reading the chapter last night, it really highlighted some things I've been hearing all the time I've been involved with what I'm doing in network marketing and stuff like that. But it really kind of, I guess, finally jumped in my face at how much when I am motivated, I'm motivated, and somehow I'm motivated, but once a little something comes in, or something usurps what I'm trying to get to, I tend to then get demotivated, and I can get myself back to being motivated again, but it takes me a little longer time. And trying to get those thoughts back in my head to get motivated again, I find that's where I have the problem. It's like you were just doing fine a couple weeks ago, and then now, it's like, why do I let the little things stop me when I know they're just little things? And it's like returning the wheels again and getting myself going. And I think that's the thing with me, is like trying to learn and recognize it and change that and get out of that circle that I've been in, and I've been in for a long time. But it's weird. It's my natural normal circle, and I want to change that. But in reading the affirmations and some of those things, I actually went through, and as he suggested in the book, I went back to a couple pages when I got to the point when he made the suggestion. I sat there and I actually read them out loud to myself, and some of them were really powerful, and it like really kind of sunk in. And I'm like, wow, this is powerful. Taking the time to really just sit there and say it to myself with no interruptions, nobody else around, no other thoughts outside there coming in, and I could feel it. I've kind of finally, I've kind of got some energy, and like, oh wow, this feels good, and so I want to get back. I want to get into that more, and I need to learn how to do that more just on the fly. Not having to come in and say, okay, let me read and know these. I need to know them so they're so ingrained in me that it's just natural.
Yeah, right, Dan. That's right on point there. How many of us are having, problems motivating to just read the self affirmations sometimes? Who else is out there?
Who was it was just saying, Jason, I think it was you, when you were talking about how it's going to feel when you get the things done, right? And in the chapter, he talks a lot about the fact that your motivation is most directly affected by your emotions, and when you can tap into your emotions and tap into them in a positive way, that's going to help motivate you. And and so I think that's a super powerful thing right there. And so one of the things that that I really thought was important was that if you can create those self-talk statements to initiate or just access that emotion that you want to feel versus the emotion that you don't want to feel, then that can help you get motivated to do stuff, right? Okay. One thing that I was thinking about, for myself as far as the exercise goes, was that for me, I have this grandbaby coming here next year, and this is my first grandbaby, so you guys are going to hear me talk about it a lot, I'm sure, And but anyway, so this is an emotional thing for me, and I know that if I don't get a little bit stronger, that baby is going to wear me out, and so I know that's a big emotional connection for me, is to really be thinking about that baby and creating my self-talk statement. So I wanted to mention something to you guys too, is that Dan, you mentioned the wanting to know the statements on the fly, or wanting to have access to what to do on the fly, because I think that's something that we all have an issue with, is that we're going through our day, and then all of a sudden we have this kind of feeling that comes over us, right? It's a feeling, that emotional connection that comes over us and makes us demotivated, or keeps us from being motivated to do something. And what I was thinking is to maybe you have like a long list that you create that maybe you read throughout the day, right? But if you created maybe 4 powerful statements that are pretty short that you could just memorize, I think that would be a really easy thing to do just throughout your day, so that no matter what, if you start feeling down, is you just connect with those 4 most powerful statements out of all your other statements and just repeat them to yourself. So I don't know, what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, that's good there, Samantha. I was just thinking while each one of you were talking there, I I used to say to myself, and this was I was always one for reading out loud. I don't know if you ever heard, if anybody's ever been around someone that would just, cause my friend here that lives with, she asked me a question. She said, Donna, why do you read out loud? Well, my answer to her was, at that time, I says, well, it's just something I've always done. I've always read out loud. And when I go back and I ponder back into time, I'm thinking there was a reason I read out loud. My father always would say, and my father he was one that I'm gonna be brief with this, but I do have a secret to this, and if anybody wants to know it, you can hook me up. You can hook up with me. I got a little. It's not a secret, but it is a secret. But anyway, he would say he was not able to read, and he would say, "Baby, come here and read me this." And then he says, "There's one thing I want you to always remember: keep everything as simple as possible, and use your common sense." And he says, "Don't always continue to ask the questions." But I would say, "Well, Daddy, I love to challenge myself. I just love the challenge." Well, see, I didn't really realize at the time what I was saying. I love to challenge myself. Boy, those words they come back and get you now when you say that. But actually, Dan said it so well, and I never heard of no Bob Proctor until just a few years ago. But that is truly what we're doing. We're speaking to our subconscious mind, and I used to think, boy, there's something wrong with me. And even now, if I'm reading out loud and somebody's around me, I'll be honest with you guys, I don't care, because that's another way how my mind comprehends to keep everything kind of on a simple base. Don't confuse the mind, because it's already, the outside influences can confuse it easily. So just kind of step back and say, okay, let's keep this simple. Let's come at it another way. It's okay to talk out loud. I've done this for a long time. I've just now realized I'm okay. All righty.
Yes, I agree with everyone and Donna with the reading out loud. As you were saying that, something just popped into my mind where I was thinking, well, once I start creating my own affirmations, I'm going to go ahead and record them. And when I'm in the car driving, or when I wake up in the morning and everyone is on their own, it would be nice to just sit down and actually hear myself with these affirmations, because I think it adds an increase in how you're feeling if you're positive at that moment, or it can help you get your mind where you want to be as far as self-motivation. And reading the affirmations, my affirmation was always, I will succeed no matter what. And I realized that reading these affirmations that Dr. Hemstetter put in his book, I need to be more specific to the affirmations. And so, because I'm reading this, and one of the things that I picked up was that in the beginning, he starts with I. So I need to be a certain way, or I need to be confident. I need to be self-loving. I apologize if I'm wrong, but I'm just realizing that I have to put myself in a positive state, however it is, self-confidence, self-love, not being afraid, and put myself in that. I can see, I need to visualize myself there in order to complete the goals, in order to do what I have to do. And please correct me if I'm getting this wrong, in order to have what it is that I want. I hope I got that right.
Oh yeah. Like, Jason, were you jumping out?
I just wanted to say, Julia, exactly. That's exactly right. And I think sometimes we miss that part about it because it's so subtle, but we need to bring ourselves to that place then to be able to see the next step. So we need to put ourselves in a place of empowerment before we try to tackle these other things that seem like big hurdles. And that's beautiful. Well put.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that is the key, is connecting to that feeling that you would feel when you get to the state that you want to be in. So if if you're looking to accomplish some particular goal, is to really create your self-talk statements or your affirmations, and from the first person standpoint of already having accomplished the thing that you want to accomplish. So if let's just say, for instance, you're training because you want to run a marathon, right? Or you want to win at a game, or whatever it is. Let's go with the marathon. let's just say that you're having trouble motivating yourself to run more and more every day, and but yet if you can picture yourself crossing the finish line and running through that tape or whatever, and that feeling that you would have afterwards is then kind of create those self-talk statements based on the way that you would feel at that point, because then that connects you to that emotional feeling of where you want to be. And so then when you start talking about those things in your self-talk, even though you haven't reached that goal yet, it connects to that emotion, and that emotion is what drives your motivation.
I guess she was done, Samantha. So I shared in the notes over here on the page. Anyway, the 3 P's of self-talk is number 1, it has to be personal, and I think that's what you was talking about, Julia. It has to. It's an I statement. Okay, it comes from I, so that it's coming from you. It has to come from your heart. It has to come from your own mouth. So it's personal and it's present tense. I am, and it has to be a positive statement. So it's called the 3 P's of self-talk: personal, present tense, positive statements that you make. And one of the things that I was trying to find it here in the book, I didn't mark it very well, but anyway, what Dr. Helmstead was talking about, if you're a Christian and you go to a church service and there's a really exciting speaker there and he like gets you buzzed up, or if you're into politics and you go to a political rally and you're all hooting and hollering, jumping up and down, getting excited about the politician that's up there promising you the moon, and that we have the ability to do the very same thing to ourselves. You don't have to go to somebody else for external motivation that's coming from a pastor of a church or from a politician or a musician or whatever. That you actually have the very same ability, and your subconscious mind cannot differentiate whether that you're listening to an outside speaker or whether you're actually listening to yourself. And one of the things about self-talk is, and this is what I was talking about earlier, trying to allude to, is that you choose the thought, you choose the statement, you choose the person that you want to be, and making these positive statements and then visualizing yourself as actually being that person. Your subconscious mind cannot differentiate between what is reality and what's only a dream that's taking place in your mind. And that's the reason why the emotions that you can actually stir up, the emotions inside of you, what Samantha's talking about, draw up those emotions and take them to like a fever pitch. You're increasing the vibration of your body. You're increasing the vibration of your of everything. Your entire physiology is increasing in vibration, and as you make the positive statements, as you visualize yourself being that person, and as you raise the vibration of your body, and then you move through time, and you begin to take the actions. And I think I talked about this several weeks ago. I have a couple of grandkids, and sometimes we'll buy them clothes, and we'll buy them big because we know they're going to grow into them, okay? And so in a sense, you're growing into your own skin. You're growing into your own dreams. You're making the positive statements. You're increasing the vibration of your body. You're visualizing yourself. You're making the I am statements, the 3 Ps: personal, present tense, positive statements about yourself. You're taking the action, and then you're visualizing it. And then there comes a day when you take enough actions, and all of a sudden you wake up and you realize, wow, I am today what I set out to be. And there's been a period of time, maybe it's a month, 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years. Doesn't matter the time frame. The only thing that matters is that you chose to plant those thoughts. You chose to increase the vibration of your body. You chose to visualize yourself being the certain person that you wanted to be. You moved towards it. You took the actions, and then you wake up and you're doing the things. You're being the person. You are what you set out to be. And that's the same thing I talked about earlier about planting tomato plants, planting onions, planting potatoes. It doesn't matter what it is. You're implanting that thought into your subconscious mind, taking the actions, visualizing, and moving towards being what you want to be, and then over a period of time, you grow into, just like growing into a winter coat, you grow into the person that you want to be. So I'll let somebody else talk.
I love that, Dan. Growing into a winter coat. That's beautiful. That's great. I see Danielle's on. Hi, Danielle. I love what you said, Dan, about vibration. I think that goes back to like what Dan Sissick was saying, about speaking it out loud. And when you first start reading these statements, and you look at them in words, you look at them in print, and they don't seem very powerful. But when you read them, it like touches a part of you. And by reading them out loud, like Donna said, I mean, it's great to read out loud. And I think that actually, by saying it out loud, you're creating that vibration within yourself. And as we elevate that vibration and we sort of speak it out into the world, that creates that frequency, that those waves that go out there. And I think they just, that positivity just destroys the negativity around us and allows us to, take action. And I think that vibration is very important. And sometimes with my motivation, sometimes I feel like I'm at a very low vibration and I just can't get going. And I've been noticing that that music has been able to be a big help with that. Certain songs, that that help me to get into a faster pace or a higher vibration, and I just love that, because I think I was making a point a little while back about how we can kind of jumpstart the process with our action, our programming, our beliefs, anyways, they are reinforced by our actions. If you say you believe in something, but then you don't take action on it, then it's almost like saying, it really gives you that idea of how good strong your beliefs are. When you take action, even if your beliefs are low, it tells your subconscious that you really do believe it, right? But sometimes we have a hard time just taking that action, and it's because we don't have that. We're not coming in from a higher vibration. So why not use some good music to get you into that higher vibration state, and also some good positive empowering thoughts, like Julia said, put us into that mental empowerment state of mind, and it's good to go. I mean, it's right there for us to use. It's fantastic. What's going on, Danielle? How are you doing?
Hey, everybody. I finally found a way to get on, so I'm so excited to be here. We have, challenges in life, and you learn how to overcome them with a smile. Yeah, I was thinking of something that I do, and I've gotten better at it over the years. And, we go through catches in time with how we are with ourselves and how we talk to ourselves. And one thing I learned this from Louise Hay is calling yourself darling or sweetheart, and endearing yourself to yourself and saying, it's okay, darling. And you're saying it in a third tense, but it actually is the first tense to yourself. It calms you down, because what effect does that have on someone else when you speak really kind words to them? And that vibration that we're talking about, those verbal vibrations we give out, why not speak that way to ourselves? Who calls you darling and says sweet things to you? And then, I found that kind of gets that mode of operation, those thoughts going, and then definitely they need to be out loud. So you have to find moments. My kids are so used to it that they're used to mom talking out loud and saying those kinds of words. But something that I did years ago, and I just thought about that this morning when I was preparing for this, was I used to put my affirmations, things I was working on and really trying to put deep inside myself. They'd be on little index cards, and I had them taped up in the bathroom. And I would hear my kids in the bathroom reading them out loud. And I would ask them, and they get embarrassed. But, I always thought that was so cool, because especially my youngest son, from a very young age, he's the best skateboarder there is in the whole world. And that's he still has that attitude now at 16, and I wonder how much that played a part in that. So I just wanted to throw that in real quick, and I'm so happy to be here and see everybody, by the way.
Oh, that's so awesome, Danielle. You know, I just read an article recently. It was a study done by neuroscientists, and they were talking about the things that actually affect your dopamine levels and your serotonin levels to increase your, you know, your overall health and well-being, right? And they were comparing doing a couple of different things to taking the drugs Wellbutrin and I think it's Prozac. Those are the two that are supposed to, one of them is supposed to help with serotonin levels and one of them is supposed to help with dopamine levels, right? And they were saying, you know, you can do this, you can increase those levels by doing these simple actions that have nothing to do with taking drugs. And they were proving it through neuroscience and all the tests that they were doing with the brain and all that kind of thing. And one of the things that they were talking about, and this is just one out of the multiple, was to say positive statements to yourself as if you were someone else. So like, just like you would tell your friend, it's okay, you know, you can do this, or you've got this, I know you know how to do that, you'll be all right, you can make it happen, or whatever. It was actually to say say the self-talk statements to yourself as if you were someone else. So, you know, I mean, we talk about making self-talk statements from the first person point of view, but they can also be really effective when you say them from the third person point of view, when you say them to yourself as if you were someone else. So just like what Danielle's talking about, you know, saying endearments to yourself, it's okay, darling, it's okay, you know, and I say to myself, I call myself love a lot. I say, you know, when I'm talking about, you know, anything, I'll be like, oh, you want some coffee, love? You know, it'll be something stupid like that. And, you know, and it's interesting that you mentioned that coming up on this, because when I do the same thing kind of out in the world when I greet people. I don't actually say love to them, but in my mind I do. I'll say, you know, it's good to meet you, and then in my mind I say it's good to meet you, love. You know, I call people love in my mind, and you know, so I think that it's just as powerful to do it for yourself. And that article, the neuroscience article, kind of proves it, right? But one thing I also wanted to mention on here, when Jason, you were talking about just taking some kind of an action, you know, if you're feeling down or you're not doing what you think you ought to be doing, is just to take some kind of action, no matter what it is, whether it's listening to music, or whether it's reading your self-talk statements, or whether it is, you know, just getting up and dancing. You know, think of the things that make you feel great, you know, throughout your life. Pick those things out that are just physical activities or just actions, and then when you're feeling crummy, just do one of those. And I wanted to read a section here in this chapter where it kind of connects with that. And it says, let's see, you know, we can learn to motivate ourselves, right? Okay. And then it goes on and it says, we need only begin, right? Take action, do something. And our inner selves, the part of us that wants to achieve, will soon begin to follow the new lead which we are giving it. There is a vital part of each of us that is anxiously waiting for us to tell it that it's okay to go ahead and achieve. That's what it wanted to do all along. All it needed was a few new words. There is a sleeping giant within us. It seeks and needs the light that never fails, the motivation that comes from us. If we feed it each day in just the right way, it will become a part of us which will conquer our fears, slay the dragons, carry us on to our victories. It is a magical genie of untold powers, impatiently waiting for its release. It is essential, self-fulfilling part of us. It has been waiting for a long time for us to tell it what to do. So go ahead, indulge yourself. Just do it. Just take those actions. Do the things that, you know, you want to achieve, right? You want to be, you have that inner drive in yourself, or you wouldn't be here watching this. You wouldn't be reading self-development books. You wouldn't be doing affirmations if you didn't have this internal drive that says, I want to be more, right? And so when you take those actions, when you do the statements, when you do all these different little things, you're just feeding the fire of desire inside of you that really wants to make some things happen. I think that's just really important to realize, that is that, so what? If you feel kind of crummy one day, that's okay. We all go through that. We all have blah days where, we feel like the rain is just raining on us and we're the only ones that are having that issue. But if you recognize, like, I think everybody's mentioned this at least once, is that if you recognize what's going on inside of you, and you see, okay, I have this kind of unpleasant thought or feeling or whatever, I'm recognizing that I'm having it, I'm saying, okay, I've got it, it's not the end of the world, let's take some kind of action, it doesn't even matter what it is, and counteract it. And it can be as simple as reading a few self-talk statements to yourself, which is an awesome thing, because when you think about it, if all you really have to do is just recognize when you're feeling down and do any action at all every time that happens, then over a period of time, those down days are going to be less and less and less and less, and those up days are going to be more and more and more and more. What do you guys think? Oh, Christopher's got a comment on the page. Let me jump over there and read it. Christopher says, I've been using YouTube wealth affirmation videos, mantras, TV with humor for a couple minutes a day to help me lighten up if I feel agitated. Louise Hay is awesome, honey. Hi, honey bear. LOL. Speaking out loud helps you convince yourself. That's awesome, Christopher. Thank you.
I was going to say to a little bit of both what you and what Jason was saying. For me, I love music, and I work so much better when I have music on and can have it. If I could wear my headset all day long at work, I would be the happiest person, in my job for that, because I am allowed to have a little bit of music, but I have to keep it low, and so I'm not bugging people. But for me, that infuses me, and I have certain songs that I really resonate with, and they, kind of keep me in this up level, and I just find the difference in me myself when I'm in that mode than when I come home and I'm kind of in my normal things, and sometimes I can't always, as I'm doing things, have my headset on and stuff like that, because I leave my MP3 player at work so I can listen to it there. But yeah, I have always, all my life, since been able to tune in with music and be able to associate and resonate in that way, and I love it when I can sit and do my blog post or something and put on my headset and have the music in the background, because I think I kind of focus on it, but I don't focus on it, and it just keeps me there, whereas if I'm just doing stuff without it, I sink lower, and I know I do.
That's awesome. I'm going to share a little bit more about my past here with my kids, because music also played a big part. I used to form conga lines to clean the house with the kids. And they would all have their own gloves and their cleaning supplies. And we had the entire house wired with stereos, so we could make the music happen, and that's what we used. They say it's an external and we can only self-motivate, but I found that was very effective as a parent. So for all the parents with little ones and you want them to help you, I really do believe that music does add a wonder, and I still do it today, and if the kids are playing music, I love to be a silly mom and embarrass my kids still, even though they're adults. And if they put funny music on, I'll come into the room and it, you just see the vibration change. And it's just remembering, and I'm so glad we share these kinds of things out there, and there's others listening in, because these are little tidbits that can make your life a lot better. I had another thought that popped into my mind about athletes or anybody that's achieved big in their life, and maybe they came from a bad background. What helped them to overcome obstacles or maybe the negative talk? They had to have some form of self-talk, because nobody can be externally motivated. It still comes from inside that you want it, and you have to tell yourself you want it. And athletes are such a great example of that. They are relentless in the amount of time they spend and the beating they take to their bodies so many times to accomplish great things in that field. And so there has to be that type of self-talk, and it's finding different methods. You know, music is, I think, one of the very best, but I'm sure there's other methods out there that really do create that determination or that drive, you know. So it's just a thought that ran through my mind this right now.
That's a
Yeah,
great
I
tool,
I
Julia.
am. I'm sorry, Jason.
Go ahead, Julia. Go ahead.
That I just want to go back a little bit into what Dan was saying, when we see ourselves working, or you're working on something, and then you look back and you actually are where you set yourself to be. And I remember working, and I'm sorry about the bird. He's missing his other bird. The other bird got hurt, so I have them separated, and I think this one's having an anxiety attack. So I remember last year, I was so set on being a stay-at-home mom. Like, that's how I felt. You couldn't tell me anything different. Whenever something happened, I would see myself being a stay-at-home mom. And today, I am a stay-at-home mom. Resigned from my job, and I'm a stay-at-home mom. So now I'm looking at my business, and I realize that I have to reevaluate and get off the stay-at-home mom and start to look at myself as a business owner and the things that I want to accomplish, because next year we'll be having this conversation and I'll be on another goal. I will have something else that I need what I'm saying is I need to focus on my business, because I already set myself to where I'm at right now. So I just realized, based on what Dan was saying, that I completed that, and I need to go to the next step for my business, which is something that I was resisting. And reading this chapter and listening to what Dan was saying, it was like an aha moment for me, where I just realized I am where I set myself to be, and I need to move forward to the things I want for my business. So I want to thank you, Dan, very much. That was very profound. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
You know, and
good.
it's overcoming fear. A lot of it has to do with fear. A lot of it has to do with fear of the unknown, knowing your self-worth. It's, you know, to me, like, my business is my business. It's mine. It's not like, you know, I have a job and somebody's telling me what to do. There are decisions that I need to make. So I need to heighten up my self-worth to get to where I need to be at. So that was great.
I think that's a perfect distinction. Oh, I'm sorry, Jason.
I was just going to say, that's what I hear from that also is partly, you know, it's a totally different way. You know, people who are in business look at things a totally different way than people who are getting a paycheck working as an employee. You know, an entrepreneurial mindset, you know, successful entrepreneurs, I should say, look at things differently. And it's not just because they're successful, it's because from where they're seeing it, they see themselves there already. But kind of like what Julie was saying, that's all. So, thanks, Samantha. Good.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's a really important distinction, and I think that's why this chapter, well, actually the whole book, all these different little sections, they talk about being really specific in your words, because, you know, when you start to connect with those things emotionally, that's what you're going to drive yourself to do. So if you're talking about being a stay-at-home mom, that means you're at home and you're with your kids, right? You know, it didn't necessarily mean anything about your business. But yet, if you were to say, I'm a work-at-home mom, or I'm a seven-figure earner mom, or, you know, a stay-at-home mom, or something like that, it changed the dynamic of what it is that you're motivating yourself to do. But I think that's super powerful. And, you know, and I've had the same experience over the years. You know, I'm like, I've told myself I'm not going to have, you know, a regular traditional home. I'm going to be a full-time RVer, you know, and all that kind of thing. And and we've had our ups and downs with that situation. I think it was because of the things that I was telling myself, you know. We haven't traveled as much as I wanted to, you know. We're definitely full-time RVers, but we're not traveling as much, you know. And then my husband, he's been telling himself something completely different, so we haven't been on the same page with things, you know. But anyway, I just wanted to share that. I thought that just making that distinction is super important. So decide what it is specifically that you want to have happen, you know, because if you want to be an at-home mom, that's great. But if you also want to make an income, then you need to have self-talk statements along that lines too. So awesome, guys.
Yeah, I'll share a little bit about where I've been for the last few years, because I had a goal for years to get debt free. I wanted my house paid off. I didn't want a car payment, no credit card payments, absolutely nothing. And about 8 years ago, we accomplished that, and was completely debt free. And then I kind of went, I don't know if I kind of went into a free fall or a downward spiral. I mean, it was really, really strange, because I had that goal out there for so long. And then when I reached it, I didn't, like Julia said, I didn't have my next goal set. And then I felt like I was kind of in this, I don't know, it was like, it was an awful feeling. It was kind of like I was in a free fall, because I was so focused for so many years. Want to get out of debt, want to get out of debt, want to get out of debt. And I was out of debt, and it's just, well, what do you do now? I mean, I've had other goals for a long, long time, but it was such a milestone in my life to reach that point where we didn't have any more debt. And then just reaching it just, I don't know. I don't know how to put it. The emotions that I felt, at first it was fantastic, and I love being debt free, but then also, and I used motivation, or I used anger for a lot of years to motivate myself in my work, because I had so much work on a daily basis I had to get done, that I learned how to use anger, and I learned how to pump adrenaline and channel it, and then use that to really, really push myself. And I think that's one of the things that Dr. Helmstetter was talking in here about external motivations. If you got a house payment you got to make, or you got to pay the power bill, that's definitely an external motivation. And so, for so many years, having that motivation to get out of debt, and then pumping adrenaline the way that I did, and my entire body, my whole physiology was just tense, just clenched, just constantly. My jaw was always, my teeth were always clenched, because I was so, just motivated, just pushing to hit these goals. And then when I hit them, it's just like kind of like I fell apart. I don't know how else to put it, And so yeah, it's extremely important to have the next goal out there, the next milestone, the next thing that you're pushing towards, because otherwise, you're either in a state of growth, or you're in a state of decline. And so it's so important to have that next milestone, the next thing that you're pushing for, the destination in mind, where you're going. So anyway, I've rambled long enough. I'll let somebody else talk.
That's a great thought, Dan. Somebody said the other day, we were on a team call, and they said, it goes along with, we're motivated to get to that next level, and then what a lot of people do, for those out there that do build business, we start getting into that maintaining instead of motivating yourself to drive for the next level. And if you do that, because I've done it myself, where you bottom out and you're so spent by the time you get there, yet you'll look at somebody else and they're always hopping and popping, and they're just continually, gradually rising to the next level, and the next level, and the next thing, and the next thing, and finding, understanding that. And I think I really went through that quite a bit this year. And not to say I thought I arrived, but I stopped trying to push for that next goal. I felt really good, comfortable financially and otherwise, so I got into that maintaining, but it kind of is a downer that you can spiral into. And so it is important to always have new things you're striving for. Maybe you accomplish something, but then, like what Samantha was saying, what's the next thing that we're going to, and are we on the same page with those in our life to help us get to those next goals, and really telling yourself you want to be there. So I've been making a lot of changes. This book has been very instrumental for me. I don't know if the rest of you feel this way, but it's really impacted me quite a bit.
Yeah, I want to say one final closing remark on what you guys just said there. You ever heard the saying, need more will push you out the door? Have you ever heard that said, need more will push you out the door? Now, you know, I would hear these things and I'm thinking, well, what does that mean? Why do I tell myself, need more will push you out the door? Okay, I always hear people say, well, this book it's not so much as changed my life because we are the changer. When we go inside, I asked myself this question when I was reading this book, and it is in this chapter, what motivates you? And I had that answer with me, and we all have that answer. What motive? It's us. I had this friend, and I'm gonna close on this, but this book has really impacted my life. I'm so glad, Samantha. I'm so glad you chose in the group. You chose this book because it was confirmation to me. The affirmations has always been there, but this was confirmation that I wasn't off on the deep end somewhere. But most likely is again, we drink our coffee, and you've heard the story. The coffee changes the environment, not so much as the water changes the environment. But I said, you know, I'm not all that, and I don't claim to be all that. I'm just Donna Allen. I motivate me, and like Samantha said earlier, and all of you said, there's days we're so down. We call it the mully grubs. You just rubbing the bottom. You know, you can't hardly see the top of the water. You know, looking up because you're so down. But you always got to remember this. I had a friend that I won't call any name that's offline because they might watch this. But for you that's out there, this is for you. If you see anybody that outside of your environment that seems that they can go out and they can do this and they can do all that, but in their own environment, I'm speaking about within yourself, if that part of you is not motivated and you go out and try to do all this outside of you, then you're really lying to yourself. Thank you, Samantha. Thank you, everyone. That was my final closing remark.
Wow, we're right at the top of the hour. I want to give a shout out to Danielle because I think, Danielle, you were the one that suggested this book in the first place, and of course, we all voted on which one we wanted to read, but I think you were the one that brought it up. So thank you for that, because it's been an absolutely wonderful book that has shared tons of just awesome little tips. And for those of you who are watching and maybe this is your first time watching us, you can find all the replays of the previous sessions to go back all the way to the beginning of this book as well as the previous books that we've studied just by going to replays.saturdaymorningmastermind.com. That's replays.saturdaymorningmastermind.com. Or you can, of course, find us on YouTube. Just search for Mindset Mastery Collective and you'll find us on YouTube. Okay, but before we wrap up, does anybody else have any just, final quick thoughts before we go? You raise your hand or jump out.
Real quick, I just wanted to say that the knowing where your motivations are coming from is important, and building that foundation, having it all come from within. That's why we need to take the actions, and the actions that are that we need to take are just simply the self-talk. Talk to ourselves right, talk to ourselves kindly, right, and take the action there, and create that motivation from within. And as you guys were talking, I was thinking, I can have the motivation that I want all these material things, but do I want them because of me or because it's just everybody else wants them? Where's that motivation coming from? And I think that true happiness is when we're acting on motivation that is actually coming from within us. So that's my 2 cents. So have a great weekend, everybody. Great to be here. Thank you, Samantha.
You too, Jason. I'm going to wrap up by saying this was a great chapter. I mean, it was short, but compared to the previous one, but it really had I don't even know how to say it. I just realized reading this that I was still stuck in what I had completed, and I'm just looking forward to the next week, the next minutes, the next hour, so I can start making some changes and see myself where I know I deserve to be, and that I'm worthy of all the successes that I want in my life. And to Samantha, I'm going to take that quote. I'm a 7-figure working mom from home. Because my affirmations last year was just to be a stay-at-home mom. It did not include money. So I'm going to include it in now. So thank you so much.
I'll jump out and throw my little last bit. I'm so glad I actually had a moment in time to read the chapter last night. Um, for me, it was personally very powerful, very helpful. And then jumping on here and sharing this morning just gave me so much to work with. And I am going to stick around a little bit after the hangout, Samantha, take you up on your little offer earlier before I head to where I'm going. But again, I am so glad I somehow came across this group, gotten into this group, and then finally invited to join and be on the panel. I'm growing every week and learn so much, and I think I have found an amazing group of friends here that truly do lift me up. So I just want to say thank you.
Is that everybody? Anybody else have anything? Good? Awesome. Okay, all right, awesome, guys. So, and thank you, everybody who's hanging out there watching with us today. BG, Rhonda, Sandy, Dan, Chris. Let's see, anybody else? Going down. Sandy, I already mentioned you. Awesome, John. Karen. Awesome, guys. I want to thank you all for joining us today. This has been a great discussion. I really appreciate everybody who has added their thoughts to the event page, and for those of you who are watching, if you found value in this video, please jump to our YouTube channel and give us a like on this video. Share it with anybody that you think that will find this helpful. And subscribe to our channel, follow our page on Google+, jump over to our community. If you just search for Mindset Mastery Collective or Saturday Morning Mastermind, if you Google search that, you'll find everything. You find all our places. So with that, have a great day, awesome, amazing weekend, and we will see you next week here again at the SaturdayMorningMastermind.com, 10 a.m. Eastern every Saturday. Bye for now.